Hey guys, tonight we're stepping back into the ancient world, but we're not going to be looking at famous battles or the reigns of powerful kings. Instead, we're going to explore what life was like for roughly half the population, a group whose stories are often left in the margins of our history books. We're going to be walking in the sandals of a woman in the ancient world, and as you'll soon discover, it was a life defined by limitations, dangers, and a profound lack of control over your own destiny. Frankly, your chances of surviving childbirth, let alone being allowed to make your own life choices, were statistically not great. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It helps other history lovers find a cozy corner to drift off to. Go ahead and drop your location and local time in the comments below. It's always fascinating to see our community span the globe. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. Your story begins not with a choice, or a thought, or a memory, but with a judgment. You have just been born, here in 5th century Athens, the cradle of democracy and philosophy. But in this moment, those lofty ideals do not apply to you. You are a wet, screaming, brand new thing, and your existence is entirely conditional. The midwife has cleaned you and swaddled you. Her movements efficient, her expression unreadable. She presents you to your father, the Kyrios, the Lord and absolute master of this household, and the entire room holds its breath. This is the first, most terrible, and most fundamental fact of your life. In the enlightened city of Athens, a father has the absolute legal right to decide whether his newborn child will be accepted into the family, or whether it will be exposed, left on a hillside outside the city walls to die from the elements, or perhaps to be picked up by a childless couple, or, more likely, a trafficker in slaves. This practice of infant exposure is common, and the risk is dramatically higher for one simple reason: you are a girl. Your father looks at you. You can see the flicker of disappointment in his eyes. He had hoped for a son. A son would carry on the family name, inherit the property, become a citizen, vote in the assembly, and fight for the glory of Athens. A son is an asset. You, a daughter, are a liability. You are another mouth to feed for more than a decade, and then you will require a dowry, a significant expense, to be married off into another man's family. You cannot inherit his property. You cannot vote. You cannot be a soldier. From his cold, pragmatic perspective, you are a net loss. He stands in silence for what feels like an eternity. The fate of your entire world rests on his next gesture. If he makes a move to take you in his arms, you will live. You will be named. You will be accepted. You will become a part of the oikos, the household. If he simply turns and walks away, your fate is sealed. The midwife will wrap you in a simple cloth, and later that day will carry you to a designated place and leave you there. There is no appeal. There is no debate. His authority is absolute. You can feel the tension from your exhausted mother, who lies on the birthing bed, silent. She has no say in this matter. She produced a daughter, and now she must wait for her husband's verdict. Finally, with a heavy, weary sigh, your father gives a slight nod. He makes a gesture. You are to be kept. A wave of quiet relief washes through the room. Your life, by the thinnest of margins, has been deemed worth living. You have survived your first and most arbitrary trial. Your world, for the next 14 years, will be incredibly small. It is the gynecium, the women's quarters of the house. In a typical Athenian home, this space is located at the back of the house, or perhaps on a second floor, deliberately segregated from the public. Male-dominated spaces, like the central courtyard, the andron, the men's dining room, and the front door that leads to the city outside. This is your entire universe. You can smell its distinctive scents in your sleep, the lanolin from the unwashed wool that is constantly being spun, the olive oil used for lamps and for softening skin, the aroma of baking bread from the nearby kitchen, the faint, ever-present smell of female bodies living in close quarters. The sounds of your world are the rhythmic thump-thump clack of the great upright loom that dominates the main room, the soft whirring of spindles, the murmur of your mother's voice as she teaches you your duties, and the laughter and gossip of the female slaves who share this space with you. You almost never leave. A respectable Athenian girl is not meant to be seen by men who are not her immediate relatives. Your only glimpses of the outside world are from a high window or a balcony overlooking the courtyard, where you might see your father and your brother leaving for the day, heading to the Agora, the marketplace, a place you have never been. This confinement leads to a great debate for future historians. Was the gynecium a prison? A gilded cage designed to keep women controlled, chaste, and invisible? Or was it also a uniquely female space, a sanctuary away from the demands and dangers of the male world, a place where women formed deep bonds of kinship and solidarity, where they managed their own affairs and created their own culture, hidden from the public eye? For you, living it, the answer is that it is both. It is the only world you know, and you feel safe here with your mother, your aunts, and your nurse. But as you grow older, you begin to feel the walls closing in. You hear the sounds of the city, the shouting of vendors, the rumble of cartwheels, the distant sound of political speeches, and you feel a yearning for a world you are forbidden to enter. Your education takes place entirely within these walls, and it is starkly different from your brother's. Your brother, when he turns 7, begins to spend his days outside the home. He goes to a palestra, a wrestling school, to train his body to run, jump, and throw the discus. He goes to a school where a grammatist teaches him to read the epic poems of Homer and to write. He learns mathematics and music. Later, he will listen to the great philosophers in the Agora, learning the arts of rhetoric and logic, skills he will need to be an effective citizen. Your education is profoundly practical and entirely domestic. Your mother is your teacher. The loom is your textbook. You learn to card wool, to spin it into thread on a drop spindle, a skill that requires endless practice to produce a thread of even thickness. You learn to operate The massive, upright loom, a complex piece of machinery, weaving the thread into the cloth that will clothe your entire family. This is not a hobby. It is a vital economic contribution to the household. You learn to grind wheat and barley into flour using a heavy stone quern, a physically demanding and tedious task. You learn to bake bread. You learn to manage the household stores of olive oil, wine, and grain, ensuring nothing is wasted. You learn the basics of medicine, how to use herbs and folk remedies to treat common sicknesses. And you learn how to manage the other women of the house, the slaves. Your education is a vocational training program for the only career available to you, wife and household manager. You might learn to read and write, but it is not a given. If your mother is literate, she may teach you your letters, but your literacy is for practical purposes only. You learn enough to be able to read a household inventory, to keep basic accounts, or perhaps to read a simple story. You will not be reading the philosophical treatises of Plato or the histories of Herodotus. That world of high culture is reserved for men. Even your playtime is a rehearsal for your future life. This is an obscure but telling detail of your existence. Your toys are tools of indoctrination. You have a plangon, a terracotta doll with jointed arms and legs, which you dress in scraps of cloth you have woven yourself. You are practicing being a mother. You have a miniature, toy-sized loom where you mimic your mother's movements, learning the patterns of the weave. You play games with your nurse, like knucklebones, known as astragaloi, a game of skill and chance played with the ankle bones of sheep. Your entire childhood is a carefully constructed training ground for a future that has already been decided for you. There is no career day where you wonder what you will be when you grow up. You will be a wife. You will be a mother. That is the beginning and the end of your ambition. You watch your brother's life with a sense of detached curiosity. His world is one of freedom, of intellectual challenges, of public engagement. He comes home in the evenings full of stories from the gymnasium, of arguments he has had with his friends about politics or poetry. Your world is one of repetitive, essential, and invisible labor. While he is learning to shape the city with his words, you are learning to shape the wool that will make his clothes. While he is learning the history of the great Persian wars, you are learning the history of your own family, the stories of your female ancestors, their duties, their marriages, their children. As you approach the age of 12 or 13, you begin to feel a change in the way the world treats you. You are on the cusp of puberty. Your body is changing, and so is your status. You are no longer seen as a child. You are now a commodity, an asset to be deployed in the crucial game of family alliances. Your father, who has largely ignored you for most of your childhood, now looks at you with a new, calculating interest. He is beginning to think about your marriage. One afternoon, you stand on the small balcony of the Genekium, a rare chance to breathe the open air. You look down into the courtyard. Your brother, now a strapping teenager, is preparing to leave the house with your father. They are heading to the agora, and then to to a symposium, a men's drinking party, where they will recline on couches, drink wine, and debate the nature of justice all night. You look past them, through the open front door of the house, and you see a slice of the street outside, a world of noise and dirt and energy, a world you have never set foot in alone. You are on the verge of becoming a woman, but you know that this will not bring you freedom. It will only bring a new form of confinement. Your childhood, a quiet, cloistered, and profoundly limited existence, is drawing to a close. And the next stage of your life, as a pawn in the marriage market of ancient Athens, is about to begin. The quiet, cloistered world of the Athenian gynoecium fades from view. The image of you standing on the balcony, watching a world you cannot join, dissolves like a dream. Your journey through the life of an ancient woman continues, shifting you from the cradle of democracy to the heart of a burgeoning empire. You are 14 years old, on the cusp of womanhood, but you are no longer in Athens. You are now the daughter of a patrician family in the bustling, powerful, and ruthlessly pragmatic city of Rome during the final, tumultuous years of the Republic. Your life here is different from your Athenian childhood. While that life was one of almost total seclusion, here in Rome, a daughter of a noble house is more visible. You are permitted to attend public festivals and religious rites with your family. Your presence is a carefully managed public statement, a testament to your family's piety and respectability. But do not mistake this visibility for freedom. Your Athenian seclusion has been replaced by the more public, but no less controlled, life of a Roman daughter. Every move you make, every word you speak is scrutinized. You are an asset, and your value is measured in your modesty, your obedience, and your impeccable reputation. These are the qualities that will secure a good match. And a good match is the entire purpose of your existence. The moment that will define your future arrives on an ordinary afternoon. Your father, the paterfamilias, summons you to his study. In Roman law and tradition, your father's power over his children, the patria potestas, is absolute. It is, in theory, a power of life and death, and it certainly extends to every aspect of your life. Most importantly, your marriage. He is not a man given to sentimentality. He is a politician, a man of ambition and influence, and he views his family as an extension of that ambition. He informs you, in a calm, businesslike tone, that he has arranged your marriage. You are to be wed to a man named Lucius Cornelius Sulla, a senator from a distinguished family who is a key political ally. The name is familiar to you. You have seen him from a distance in the forum, a man of considerable presence and authority. He is also a man in his late 30s, more than twice your age, a widower with children from his first marriage. You have never spoken a single word to him. You have never been asked your opinion, your preference, or your feelings on the matter. This is not a negotiation. It is a proclamation. This is the central, unvarnished fact of marriage for a girl of your class in Rome. It is not a romantic union. It is a transaction. It is a merger of two influential families, a way to cement a political alliance, consolidate wealth, or secure a strategic advantage. You are the living seal on that contract. Your duty is not to love your husband, but to serve the interests of your family through your obedience to him. A few weeks later, the formal betrothal ceremony, the sponsalia, takes place. It is a serious, legalistic affair held in your family's home. You stand silently beside your father as he and your future husband discuss the terms of the dowry, the property and money you will bring with you to the marriage. It feels as though they are discussing a prize mare, assessing her value and lineage. When the contracts are signed, your fiancé turns to you. He takes your left hand and slides a simple, unadorned iron ring onto your third finger. This is the annulus pronibus. You have been told that the Romans believe a special nerve, the vena amoris, runs directly from this finger to the heart. The sentiment feels like a cruel joke. This ring is not a symbol of love. It is a deposit, a public sign that you are now his property, reserved and awaiting delivery. The wedding day is set. As it approaches, your life becomes a series of preparations and strange, poignant rituals designed to formally strip you of your childhood. This is where you experience a set of obscure, but deeply meaningful, Roman customs. On the night before your wedding, a quiet, solemn ceremony is held within your home. You gather the treasured objects of your 14 years of life, your collection of polished knuckle bones, the wooden hoop you used to roll in the garden, and most importantly, your favorite doll, a finely made terracotta pupa with jointed limbs that your mother gave you years ago. One by one, you place these items on the small family altar dedicated to the lares, the benevolent spirits who protect the household. It is a ritual sacrifice of your past. You are formally and permanently putting away childish things. Your girlhood is over. Later that evening, you take off the simple white tunic with the purple border worn by Roman children, the toga praetexta. You fold it neatly. You will never wear it again. You are being methodically dismantled as a child so you can be rebuilt as a wife. The morning of your wedding, the nuptiae, arrives. You are woken before dawn. Your attendants, your mother, and your nurse fuss over you. You are dressed not in plain white, but in a special, traditional tunic woven in a single piece on the loom. It is cinched at the waist with a woolen girdle tied in the complex knot of Hercules. A knot only your husband is allowed to untie. Your hair, which you have always worn simply, is now painstakingly braided into 6 distinct locks, a style reserved only for brides and the Vestal virgins, the final and most disorienting. Part of your costume is the veil. It is the flammium, a large veil of a bright, flame-like yellow-orange color. It is draped over your head and face, covering you completely. You now see the world through a shimmering, colored haze. The veil makes you feel anonymous, hidden, a ceremonial object rather than a person. It is a symbol of your modesty, but it also feels like a shroud for the girl you used to be. The wedding ceremony itself takes place at your father's house. You stand beside your new husband, a man who is still a stranger to you, his presence large and intimidating. You can smell the expensive perfumed oil in his beard. An animal, perhaps a sheep, is sacrificed, and a priest, the haruspects, inspects its entrails, looking for omens. A moment of collective tension passes over the room. If the omens are bad, the wedding could be called off. The priest declares the omens favorable. A sigh of relief. The ceremony culminates in the dextrorum iunctio. You and your husband join your right hands, a symbol of your new partnership. You recite the formal ancient vow, your voice a small, muffled sound from behind your veil. Ubi tu Gaius, ego Gaia. Where you are, Gaius, I am Gaia. It is a declaration of loyalty, an acceptance of your new identity as an extension of his. The marriage contract is signed before witnesses. You are now, officially, his wife. But the day is far from over. As evening falls, the wedding procession begins. This is the ritual that will physically move you from your father's house to your husband's. It is a noisy, boisterous affair. You are symbolically torn from your mother's arms, a theatrical performance of your sorrow at leaving your childhood home. As the procession moves through the streets, lit by the flickering light of torches, the crowd of friends and family sings lewd, teasing, and often insulting songs. A tradition meant to ward off evil spirits. You walk, veiled and silent, in the center of this joyful chaos, feeling utterly detached from it all. When you arrive at your husband's house, you see that the doorposts have been decorated with flowers and woolen ribbons. Before you enter, your husband lifts you into his arms. He carries you over the threshold. This is not a romantic gesture. It is a practical one, to prevent the terrible omen of a new bride tripping as she enters her new home for the first time. He sets you down inside. The door closes behind you. You are now in his domus. You are now under his authority. The sounds of the party outside fade away. You stand in the unfamiliar atrium of this grand house, the flame-colored veil still covering your face, and you are truly alone with this powerful man who now controls your destiny. In this moment, standing on the threshold of your new life, you find yourself contemplating the great, unanswered question that historians will one day debate. What is the emotional reality of this transaction? Is this the beginning of a life of cold, loveless servitude, a political and social arrangement devoid of any real human connection? Or is it possible that, within this rigid Roman framework, something more can grow, can respect, partnership, and even genuine affection blossom over years of shared life, of raising children, of managing a great household together? The Roman ideal of the dignified, loyal, and capable. Matrona suggests it is possible. But as you look at the shadowy form of the stranger who is now your husband, a man who holds your entire future in his hands, you have no way of knowing what your fate will be. The only thing you know for certain is that your life as a daughter is over. Your childhood has been sacrificed, and your new, uncertain life as a Roman wife has just begun. You stand on the threshold of your new Roman home, a stranger in your husband's house. Your life as a daughter officially over. The contract has been fulfilled. But as your new life as a Roman Matrona is set to begin, let us pause. Let us leave the specifics of Roman law and politics behind for a moment and journey to a land where the most intimate and universal struggles of being a woman, the struggles with beauty, health, and life itself, were a central, documented obsession. Your journey now takes you to the fertile banks of the Nile, to the ancient kingdom of Egypt during the opulent era of the New Kingdom. You are a young, married woman of a noble family, living in a sprawling, sun-baked villa outside the great city of Thebes. Life here is defined by a deep and abiding concern for the body, both in this life and the next. And for a woman of your status, the day begins with the important and elaborate ritual of beautification. You sit on a low stool before a mirror. It is not a clear glass mirror like those of the future, but a highly polished disc of bronze, which reflects a warm, slightly distorted, golden version of yourself. Your serving girls, their movements practiced and efficient. Lay out your cosmetic tools and supplies on a small table. This is not simple vanity. It is a fundamental part of Egyptian culture, a blending of aesthetics, magic, and personal hygiene, the most important part of your daily routine. A fact for which ancient Egypt is famous is the application of eye makeup. You have two main types. The first is a green paste, made from finely ground malachite, a green copper ore. Your maid applies this to your upper and lower eyelids with a small, smooth stick of ivory. The second, and more dramatic, is the black coal. This is a fine, dark gray powder made from a mineral called galena. Your maid mixes it with a little water or oil to form a thick, black paste. Using a thin, rounded applicator, she carefully paints a heavy, almond-shaped line around your entire eye, extending outwards towards your temple in a dramatic flourish. The effect is striking. It makes your eyes seem larger, more defined, and it reduces the harsh glare of the Egyptian sun. But its purpose is more than cosmetic. The Egyptians believe this heavy black line has magical properties, that it protects the wearer from the evil eye, a curse of bad fortune brought on by a malevolent stare. They also believe it has medicinal value, helping to prevent the eye infections that are common in the dusty, fly-ridden climate. And they are, in a strange way, partially correct. But this is where the hidden danger, the obscure and terrible detail of your daily routine, lies. The galena used to make your coal is lead sulfide. Modern science will one day discover that when lead salts come into contact with the skin, they stimulate the production of nitric oxide, which in turn boosts the immune system and can indeed help fight off certain bacterial infections. But lead is also a cumulative poison. Every single day, as you line your eyes to make yourself beautiful and protect yourself from sickness, you are slowly, imperceptibly absorbing a heavy metal into your system. You are trading protection from a minor eye infection for the long-term risk of nerve damage. developmental problems in your children, and a slow, creeping sickness that no one in your time will ever understand. Your makeup kit is both your pharmacy and your poison vial. The rest of your cosmetic routine is a similar blend of the natural and the hazardous. Your lipstick is a paste of red ochre mixed with beeswax or resin. Your fingernails, toenails, and the palms of your hands are stained a reddish brown with henna. You use tweezers made of bronze to pluck your eyebrows into a fine, high arch. Your skin is softened with expensive scented oils and lotions made from moringa, balanites, or castor oil. You are a work of art, a carefully constructed image of ideal Egyptian beauty, assembled each morning with a palette of materials that are both miraculous and menacing. Your struggles with your body are not limited to cosmetics. Your health, particularly your reproductive health, is a source of constant concern, managed by a mixture of practical observation and deep magical belief. One day, you feel unwell and consult a physician. He is a priest, a man who has studied the great medical texts, like the famous Eber's Papyrus. His diagnosis is a perfect example of the Egyptian medical mind at work. He tells you that your sickness is caused by a wandering womb, the belief that the uterus can move around the body, causing pressure on other organs. His prescription is twofold. First, he gives you a foul-tasting herbal concoction to drink. Second, and more importantly, he places a potent-smelling substance near your nose and another by your vagina. The logic being that the uterus, disliking the bad smell above and being attracted to the good smell below, will be coaxed back into its proper place. This is the central debate that medical historians will have about the medicine of your time. How much of it was science and how much was magic? They will see the effective herbal remedies, the use of willow bark, a source of salicylic acid, the active ingredient in aspirin for pain, or honey, a natural antiseptic for wounds, and be impressed by the Egyptians' empirical observation. But they will also see that nearly every prescription in the papyri comes with a corresponding magical incantation that must be recited over the patient for the cure to work. For the Egyptian physician, the spell and the substance are inseparable. The magic is just as important as the medicine. Nowhere is this more apparent than in the deeply personal and dangerous realm of contraception. You and your husband desire an heir, but you do not want to have child after child, a process that is draining and life-threatening. You ask the midwife for a contraceptive. She prepares a pessary, a wad of linen or wool, to be inserted into the vagina. The recipe for this, another strange and obscure fact of your life, is a mixture of fermented acacia gum, honey, and dried crocodile dung. The thought of it is almost unbearably repulsive. And yet, there is a strange kernel of science buried in the magical thinking. Modern analysis will show that the acacia gum does indeed have spermicidal properties. The crocodile dung's high alkaline pH might also create a hostile environment for sperm. It might actually work, but the experience of using it is a testament to the sheer desperation women feel to have some measure of control over their own bodies. Eventually, the day comes when you miss your monthly bleeding. You are pregnant. This is not just a personal joy. It is the fulfillment of your primary social duty. The pressure to produce a healthy child, preferably a son, to be your husband's heir, is immense. But as your pregnancy progresses, your joy is tempered by a deep and abiding fear. You have seen other women in your community die in childbirth. You know that this, the most natural act in the world, is the single most dangerous and potentially fatal thing you will ever do. When your labor begins, your world shrinks to a small, private, and entirely female space. No male doctors are present. You are attended by your mother, your female relatives, and a trusted, experienced midwife. There is no bed. You are brought to a special pair of birthing bricks, 2 large bricks upon which you will squat to deliver the baby. A position designed to let gravity assist in the birth. The pain is a fire that consumes you. The hours drag on. The midwife encourages you, her voice a calm anchor in a sea of agony. She massages your back. She gives you sips of water. But there is little else she can do. There is no pain relief beyond your own endurance. If a complication arises, if the baby is breech, if your labor stalls, if you begin to hemorrhage, there is no surgical intervention possible. The outcome is left to the gods. And so, medicine becomes magic. Your attendants chant prayers to Tauret, the fierce and protective goddess of childbirth, who is depicted with the head of a hippopotamus, the limbs of a lion, the back of a crocodile, and the swollen belly of a pregnant woman. She is a terrifying hybrid of the Nile's most dangerous creatures. Her fearsome appearance meant to scare away the evil spirits that threaten mothers and babies. They place magical amulets on your belly. They whisper incantations. In this moment of ultimate physical crisis, science has reached its limit, and your survival depends entirely on faith, luck, and the strength of your own body. You push, your screams echoing in the small chamber. And then, a final, rending agony, followed by a sudden, shocking release. And then, another sound, the thin, wailing cry of a newborn baby. You have done it. You have survived. A wave of exhaustion, so profound, it feels like a death in itself washes over you. The midwife cleans the baby and places it in your arms. It is a son. You have fulfilled your duty. You have faced down the greatest terror a woman in your world can face, and you have won. But as you lie there, weak but triumphant, holding your new child, you look into the tired, knowing eyes of your mother and the midwife, and you understand. You were one of the lucky ones. The joy and relief that fill the room are so potent precisely because everyone knows how easily, how often. The story ends differently. For every celebration like this, there is a funeral. You have learned the most terrible and profound lesson about being a woman in the ancient world. Your own body is the most dangerous place you will ever be, and navigating its mysteries is the most heroic journey you will ever take. The memory of the birthing bricks and the primal fear of childbirth in your Egyptian villa begins to soften. The cries of your newborn son, a sound of triumph and relief, fade into the gentle passage of time. Your journey through the life of an ancient woman moves forward, away from the raw, physical dangers of creating life and into the long, demanding, and relentless second act of your existence, managing it. You find yourself back in the familiar, yet changed, world of Rome. Years have passed since that day. You crossed the threshold of your husband's house as a trembling 14-year-old bride. You are now a woman in your 30s. You have survived the perils of multiple childbirths. You have borne your husband 2 sons and a daughter. You are no longer the new, uncertain wife, but a respected matrona, the undisputed mistress of a grand Roman domus on the Esquiline Hill. You have reached the peak of the power and influence available to a woman of your station, and you are about to discover that this power is its own kind of terrible burden. Your day begins at dawn, long before your husband or your older children are awake. You rise not to the sound of an alarm, but to the first gray light filtering into your bedchamber. Your first duty is to dress for your role. A female slave helps you into a simple tunic, but it is the garment that goes over it that matters. You don your stola, a long, sleeveless outer tunic that drapes to your feet. This is not just a piece of clothing. It is a uniform, a public declaration of your status as a respectable, married Roman woman. Only a matrona in good standing may wear it. It is your badge of honor. The final piece of your daily costume is the most important. From a hook on the wall, you take a heavy ring of bronze and iron keys. You clip it to your cingulum, the woolen belt that girds your waist. These are the keys to the household. They unlock the pantries, the grain stores, the wine cellar, and the strong box where the family's valuables are kept. They are a tangible symbol of your authority, a heavy weight on your hip that reminds you, and everyone else, of your immense responsibility. Your kingdom is the domus, the house, and your workday starts now. You walk through the quiet, sleeping halls, your footsteps echoing softly in the atrium. Your first task is to rouse and organize your staff, which is to say, your household slaves. Your husband's house is large and his political career is thriving, which means your domestic staff is extensive. You are the project manager, the CEO, and the HR department for a small, complex corporation. All before breakfast, you meet with the head cook in the kitchen, a smoky, bustling room already coming to life. You plan the day's meals, inspecting the ingredients that were purchased at the market yesterday. You approve the simple lunch of bread, cheese, and vegetables. Then you turn to the main event. Your husband is hosting an important dinner party, a cena, for 10 influential senators tonight. The success of this dinner, the quality of the food, the smoothness of the service, the overall impression of effortless abundance can have a real impact on his political fortunes. The pressure is entirely on you. You discuss the menu in detail, the appetizers of eggs and olives, the main courses of roasted dormice, baked fish with a complex sauce, and a haunch of venison, and the dessert of honey-sweetened cakes and fruit. From the kitchen, you move to the weaving room. Here, several female slaves are already at work at the great looms. Unlike your secluded Athenian childhood where you worked the loom yourself, you now only supervise, You inspect the cloth being produced, checking its quality. You calculate how much wool is needed for new tunics for the children, how much linen for new bed sheets. Your mind is a constant whirl of logistics. Your morning tour continues. You check on the slave nannies watching your youngest son. You consult with the slave responsible for cleaning, assigning specific tasks for preparing the house for tonight's party. You do all of this with an air of calm, firm authority. Your slaves know that you are to be obeyed. Your word within these walls is law. And in this, you hold a certain, undeniable power. You are not the secluded, almost invisible wife of an Athenian citizen. You are the Roman Matrona, a figure of respect and dignity. You are the heart of the Domus. You are responsible for raising the next generation of citizens. You are the guardian of the family's traditions and its reputation. But this power is a paradox, a fact that leads to a centuries-long debate among historians. Are you a true partner in this family enterprise? A domestic executive wielding significant de facto power through your control of the household's resources and social life? Or are you, in the end, just a very high-status servant, a trustee whose authority is entirely dependent on the goodwill of your husband, the man who legally owns everything you manage, including you? As you go about your duties, you feel the truth of both sides of that debate. You feel powerful when you direct your staff of 20 slaves, when you manage a budget that could run a small town, when your husband's important guests praise the elegance and efficiency of your household. But you also feel the hard limits of that power. It ends at your front door. You cannot participate in the political conversations at the dinner party you so carefully orchestrated. You cannot own property in your own name. You cannot speak for yourself in a court of law. Your power, while real, is entirely derivative and domestic. A joke you might tell your sister, another Matrona, is that you have all the responsibilities of running a major corporation, but with no salary, no holidays, and a CEO you have to share a bed with. The afternoon brings a new set of duties. Your younger children return from their lessons, while your son has been with his literator and will soon move on to a grammaticus and a rhetor. Your daughter's education is your responsibility. You sit with her in the garden, teaching her the very skills your mother taught you. You show her how to spin an even thread, how to read a household account, how to comport herself with the quiet dignity, the gravitas expected of a Roman woman. You are lovingly preparing her for the exact same life of constrained power and relentless duty that you now lead. You also have your own social obligations. In the late afternoon, several other matrons, the wives of your husband's colleagues, pay you a visit. This is not a casual chat. This is a crucial part of the fabric of Roman political life. As the women sit in your parlor, sipping sweetened wine, they are engaging in a subtle dance of social diplomacy. Information is exchanged. Alliances are tested and reinforced. Reputations are burnished or subtly tarnished. You learn that one senator's wife is spending extravagantly on jewels, a sign her husband might be in financial trouble. You hear that another's daughter is being considered for a marriage to a very powerful, much older man. You, in turn, share carefully selected anecdotes that highlight your own family's piety and success. You are a diplomat, and this parlor is your embassy, your influence wielded through whispers and suggestion. Evening falls. The guests arrive for the cena. You greet them at the door alongside your husband, the perfect hostess. The dinner is a triumph. The food is exquisite. The wine flows freely, and your slaves perform their duties flawlessly. You do not recline and dine with the men, but you preside over the event from a seated chair, ensuring everything runs smoothly. A silent, graceful presence orchestrating the entire affair. Late that night, after the last guest has departed, you stand alone in the silent atrium of your home. The slaves are quietly clearing away the remnants of the feast. Your husband, pleased with the successful evening, has already retired. You look at the keys hanging from your belt. They feel heavier than they did this morning. You are the mistress of this world. You have power, respect, and a life of immense material comfort. But you are also a captive of this domestic empire. Your life is an endless cycle of relentless, invisible, and unpaid labor. The terrible part of being a successful Roman matrona is not a sharp, acute horror, but the slow, crushing, and unending weight of responsibility in a world you manage but do not truly own. You stand in the atrium of your grand Roman home, the heavy keys at your belt, a symbol of your domestic authority. You are a respected matrona, a manager, a mother, a queen in your own small kingdom of the domus. The power you wield, however constrained, feels immense and significant. But what happens when that domestic power runs into the unyielding, monolithic wall of the law? To understand the true, terrifying limits of your existence as a woman in the ancient world, your journey must now take you back in time and place, back to the city of your conceptual birth, Athens, the opulent, if confining, world of the Roman house fades away. You are once again an Athenian wife, living in the 5th century BC. Years have passed since your childhood in the Gynaeceum. You were married, as planned, to a respectable man chosen by your father. Your life is one of quiet, secluded domesticity, far less public than that of your Roman counterpart. Your days are spent managing the weaving, overseeing the female slaves, and raising your children within the cloistered confines of the women's quarters. You rarely leave the house. Your husband is your Kyrios, your lord and guardian, the man who represents you in all matters outside the home. You are, for the most part, content with this sheltered existence, as it is the only one you have ever known. One day, a servant enters the Gynaeceum with a message. Your husband wishes to see you. This is unusual. You follow the servant to his study, your heart beating with a quiet apprehension. He sits at his desk, his face grim. He tells you the news. A messenger has just arrived from your childhood home. Your father has died suddenly of a fever. A wave of grief washes over you. But as you process the loss, a secondary, practical question begins to form. Your father had no living sons. Your brother, the boy you watched leave for the Palaestra every day, was killed years ago in a foolish skirmish with a Spartan patrol. You are your father's only surviving child. That means you are the heir to his property, a prosperous farm, a house in the city, a number of slaves. For a fleeting, naive moment, you feel a flicker of something new. Perhaps this tragedy will bring with it a new kind of independence, a measure of control over your own destiny. You are catastrophically wrong. Your husband allows you to grieve for a day, and then he sits you down to explain the cold, hard, and brutal reality of Athenian law. This is where you learn the true, terrible meaning of being a woman in the eyes of the state. You do not, he explains, inherit your father's property. In a legal sense, you are the property. You have become what the law calls an epikleros. The word does not mean heiress. It means something closer to upon the property or attached to the estate. You are a vessel, a human conduit through which your father's estate, his oikos, must pass to the next eligible male in his bloodline. The law is absolute on this point, a cornerstone of Athenian society designed to keep property within a patrilineal family line at all costs. Since your father died without a male heir, his estate and you, as the living embodiment of it, must pass to his nearest male relative. That man, your husband tells you, is your father's younger brother, your uncle Phaidon, a man you barely know, who lives on a farm a day's journey from the city. The true horror of the situation then becomes clear. Your uncle Phaidon not only has the right to claim your father's land and house, he has the legal right, and indeed the sacred obligation, to claim you. He can and will force you to divorce your current husband to marry him. Your marriage, your home, the life you have built with your husband, your children, all of it can be rendered null and void by this archaic and deeply unjust property law. You are a package deal, a prize that comes with a farm. The days that follow are a waking nightmare of powerlessness. You are not consulted. Your feelings, your desires, your attachments are legally irrelevant. The matter will be decided between the two men who are fighting over you, your current husband and your uncle. Your husband, who loves you as much as a man can love a woman he was arranged to marry, wants to keep you and your valuable dowry. Your uncle, a man you remember as being greedy and unpleasant, wants your father's valuable estate and is legally entitled to you as the key to unlock it. They will bring their case before the Archon, the chief magistrate of Athens. You are required to attend the hearing, but you are not allowed to speak. You must stand silently, your face veiled, while these two men argue your fate as if you were a disputed piece of land. You are the subject of the entire proceeding, but you have no voice. You have no legal personhood. This is the great, common historical fact of your life as an Athenian woman. You are forever a legal minor. Your identity is always subsumed by that of your Kyrios, your male guardian. As a child, it was your father. Now, it is your husband. And soon, it may be your uncle. You cannot sign a contract. You cannot engage in a legal transaction worth more than a bushel of barley. You cannot bring a lawsuit or defend yourself in one. If someone were to physically harm you, it is your Kyrios who would sue the perpetrator, not for the injury done to you, but for the damage done to his property. As you prepare to be taken to the magistrate's court, you ponder the gap between this harsh legal theory and the social reality you have lived. This is a topic that will fascinate classicists for centuries. Was the letter of the law always the unshakable reality for women? Or did Athenian men, in the privacy of their own homes, sometimes ignore its harshest aspects? Did loving fathers or husbands find informal ways around the rules, allowing their wives and daughters to manage funds or express opinions in ways the law forbade? It's possible, but in a crisis like this, when a valuable estate is on the line, you sense that the full crushing weight of the law will be brought to bear. A modern woman might want to sue the state for this injustice, but you would have to find a man willing to sue on your behalf, against another man, about which of them gets to legally own you. The absurdity is as profound as the helplessness. The day of the hearing arrives. You stand in the crowded, noisy court, a veiled and silent figure next to your husband. Your Uncle Phaidon stands opposite, his face set in a look of grim determination. The magistrate calls the case. Your husband speaks first. He argues that he is a good husband, that your marriage is sound, that your children are true Athenian citizens. He may even offer a financial settlement to your uncle, a way to keep you without losing the estate. Then your uncle speaks. He does not speak of you at all. He speaks of the law. He speaks of the sacred duty to preserve the oikos of his late brother. He speaks of his right, his obligation. As the nearest male kin, he paints himself as a man reluctantly performing his civic and familial duty. His argument is cold, impersonal, and legally unassailable. You stand there, listening to your life being dismantled piece by piece. The men speak of you as the epicleros, not by your name. You are a legal category, a problem to be solved. You look at your husband, a man with whom you have shared a bed and raised children. You look at your uncle, a man who will soon have complete legal control over your body and your life. And you feel a sense of detachment so profound it borders on disembodiment. The magistrate does not deliberate for long. The law is clear. The claim of the nearest male relative is absolute. He rules in favor of your Uncle Phaidon. He declares your current marriage dissolved. The Archon's decree is final. Your husband has lost his case, and he has lost you. You are to return with your uncle to his home. You will be married to him as soon as the proper rituals can be observed. Your children, who legally belong to your first husband's oikos, will remain with him. You will not only lose your husband and your home, but your children as well. You leave the court, walking behind your new Kyrios, your uncle. He is already discussing the details of managing your father's farm with his associates. You are a ghost, a silent appendage to a property transaction. This is the ultimate, terrible truth of your existence in the world's first democracy. It is a city built on the brilliant idea of citizenship, of freedom, of the power of the individual voice. But you are not a citizen. You are not free, and you have no voice. In the eyes of the law that defines this great civilization, you are not even truly a person. You are simply a vessel, a necessary but invisible link in an unbroken chain of men. You stand in the Athenian court, a silent, veiled object, your life stripped from you and handed to a new master by the cold, impersonal logic of the law. The profound injustice of it all settles in your soul, a feeling of utter powerlessness. But just as you resign yourself to this grim new reality, your journey through time and the lives of ancient women offers a startling, almost shocking, alternative. The stuffy Athenian courtroom dissolves. The weight of your veil lifts. The air around you is no longer the humid, sea salt-tinged air of Athens, but the crisp, dry, mountainous air of the Peloponnese. You are no longer a powerless legal object. You are a 7-year-old girl, standing in the sunlight, in the strange, militaristic, and uniquely liberated society of Lacedaemon, the city the world knows as Sparta. Your childhood here is the polar opposite of the cloistered Athenian life you remember. There is no gymnasium, no women's quarters where you are hidden away from the world. Your life is lived out loud, in the open, under the scrutinizing eye of the entire community. From a young age, you are part of a state-sponsored educational system, a fact that both fascinates and horrifies other Greeks. While your Athenian counterpart was learning to spin wool, you are learning to run. Your days are spent at a public training ground. Here, alongside the other girls of your citizen class, you engage in a rigorous program of physical education. You learn to throw the javelin, its leather grip rough in your small hand, its bronze tip gleaming in the sun. You learn to hurl the discus, feeling the satisfying pull in your shoulder as the heavy bronze disc soars through the air. You learn to wrestle, to grapple, to understand leverage and balance. You run races, your bare feet pounding on the hard-packed earth, your lungs burning, competing fiercely against the other girls, and in a practice that sends shockwaves of scandal through the rest of the Greek world. You often do this exercising in the nude, just as the boys do, to the Spartans. There is nothing shameful about the naked human body. It is a tool, an instrument, and its fitness is a civic duty. Your body is not a delicate, hidden thing to be protected for a future husband. It is a vessel of the state, and it must be honed to perfection. Your academic education is not neglected either. You are taught to read and to write, but more importantly, you are taught to think like a Spartan. You learn the poetry of Tyrtaeus and Alcman, songs of military valor and civic pride. You are taught to be not modest and silent, but sharp, witty, and laconic. A famous Spartan virtue is the ability to deliver a cutting, pithy remark in as few words as possible. You learn to speak your mind, to be direct, and to never shy away from expressing an opinion, especially when it comes to matters of courage and duty. As you grow, you begin to understand the stark, pragmatic reasoning behind this radical upbringing. This is a central question that historians will debate for centuries. Why were Spartan women so free compared to their Greek sisters? Was it born from a proto-feminist belief in equality, or was it something far more practical and calculating? The answer is all around you. Sparta is not a democracy or a merchant republic. It is a military machine. Every aspect of society is geared toward one single, all-important goal: producing the most disciplined and effective soldiers in the world. And that is where you come in. Your primary duty to the state is not to weave cloth or manage a household, but to bear strong children. And the Spartan logic is brutally simple: strong, healthy, intelligent, and courageous women will produce strong, healthy, intelligent, and courageous sons. Your fitness is not for your own benefit. It is a eugenic policy of the state. You are not being empowered as an individual so much as you are being optimized as a broodmare for warriors. This is a disquieting thought. But as you easily outrun a boy from a visiting delegation from Corinth, you feel a surge of pride and physical confidence that your cloistered Athenian counterpart could never have dreamed of. Your marriage, when it happens, is just as strange and uniquely Spartan as your education. You are not married off as a child of 14. The state believes it is better for childbearing if you are physically mature. So you are likely 18 or 19 when a match is made, but there is no public ceremony, no dowry negotiation, no great procession through the streets like in Rome. Instead, you participate in a bizarre ritual that feels more like a clandestine operation than a wedding. On the appointed night, your bridesmaid takes you to a dark, windowless storeroom. She takes a razor and shaves your head completely bald. Then she dresses you not in a bride's gown, but in a simple man's cloak and a pair of man's sandals. She leaves you there, alone in the darkness, on a simple straw pallet. This is your wedding chamber. Later that night, your new husband, a young soldier of about your same age, will perform his part of the ritual. He still lives in the all-male military barracks, the Agog, with the rest of his comrades. He must eat, sleep, and train with them until he is 30. He must sneak away from the barracks under cover of darkness, avoiding the patrols and the notice of his superiors. He makes his way to the storeroom where you are waiting. He abducts you. The marriage is consummated quickly, furtively, in the dark. Then, before the sun rises, he must sneak back to his barracks. If he is caught, he will be disgraced. Not for getting married, but for his incompetence in being caught. This secret, nocturnal relationship may continue for years. You will live in your family's home, managing its affairs. While he lives in the barracks, he is your husband, but you may only see him on these brief, stolen nights. It is a system designed to keep his primary loyalty focused on his male comrades in the state, not on his wife and home. You think of the Roman bride, veiled and silent, being formally handed from one man to another in a public legal transaction. Here, the marriage is an act of stealth and capture, a strange ritual that is both more primitive and, in its own way, more equal. As you mature into a Spartan woman, your husband is often away on campaign, sometimes for years at a time. And in his absence, you are in charge. This is where the true freedom of a Spartan woman becomes apparent. Unlike the Athenian woman, who could not own property, you can and do. Spartan women, through inheritance and dowries, come to control a huge portion of the land in Sparta, a fact that scandalized other Greeks. You manage the estates, you run the household, you command the helots, the enslaved local population that performs all the agricultural labor. You are the master. You are respected. You are influential. You are feared. You walk freely through the city. your head held high, your gaze direct. Your opinion matters. When you see your sons off to their military training, you do not weep. You hand them their shield and utter the famous Spartan exhortation, "Come back with it, or on it," meaning return either victorious or dead. Weakness is the only true sin. One day, a visiting dignitary from Athens, unused to the confidence of Spartan women, asks you with a hint of condescension why it is that Spartan women are the only women in Greece who can rule over men. You look him dead in the eye and deliver the classic, sharp, and laconic reply that has been attributed to the great Queen Gorgo, because we are also the only ones who give birth to men. The words are a perfect summary of your strange and paradoxical life. You are free in ways no other ancient woman is. You are educated, athletic, outspoken, and economically powerful. But this freedom is not an inherent right. It is a privilege granted to you by a totalitarian military state for a single, pragmatic purpose: to be a worthy mother to its soldiers. You are a crucial, respected, and powerful cog in a terrible, efficient machine of war. It is a strange and stark form of liberation, and as you stand tall under the Spartan sun, you know that in a world built almost exclusively by and for men, it is likely the very best deal you are ever going to get. The sharp, clean air of Sparta and the strange, fierce pride of your life there begin to recede. The image of you standing tall, a respected and powerful mother of soldiers, fades like a story from a distant land. Your journey through the many lives of an ancient woman now reaches its final, inevitable stage, the one that every married woman in the ancient world both feared and, in some secret, unspoken corner of her heart, may have wondered about widowhood. Your path returns you to Rome. Decades have passed since you were that frightened 14-year-old bride. You are now in your late 40s, a mature and highly respected matrona. Your children are grown. Your sons are beginning their own political careers, and your daughter is herself a married matrona with children of her own. You have fulfilled every duty expected of you with grace and efficiency. Your life is stable, ordered, and secure. Then, one day, the letter with the black seal arrives. It has traveled for weeks by ship and by road. It is from the province of Syria, where your husband, the great senator Lucius Cornelius Sulla, has been serving as governor. The letter informs you that he was struck by a sudden, virulent fever and died within 3 days. You are now a widow. The first phase of your new life is a blur of public, performative grief. As the chief mourner, you are the star of a solemn and magnificent production. You dress in the dark, unadorned robes of mourning. You lead the great funeral procession from your home, through the streets of Rome, to the Forum. You walk behind the funeral bier, your face a mask of dignified sorrow. Though your mind is numb with shock, the procession is a grand spectacle, a testament to your husband's importance. It includes professional mourners who wail and tear their clothes, musicians playing somber dirges, and most importantly, a troupe of actors wearing the wax death masks, the imagines of your husband's most illustrious ancestors. It is as if the great ghosts of the past have come to escort their descendant to the underworld. After the public eulogy in the forum and the cremation on the field of Mars, you return to your large, now strangely empty, house. The public performance is over. The private reality begins. And it is a reality that is both terrifying and, in a way, you barely dare to admit to yourself, strangely exhilarating. A few days later, the family gathers for the reading of your husband's will. This is the moment that will define the rest of your life. And here, a crucial detail of Roman law. A fact that sets your fate apart from that of your Athenian counterpart comes into play: your marriage. Like most upper-class marriages of this era, was sine manu, meaning without hand. This legal status meant that you never passed into the direct legal control or hand of your husband. You remained, officially, under the legal authority of your own father. But your father has been dead for many years. With his death, and now your husband's, you have become something exceedingly rare in the ancient world, a woman who is suis juris, of her own law, for the first time in your entire life. You are not under the legal guardianship of any man. You are, in the eyes of the law, an independent agent. According to the will, your dowry, which was substantial, is returned to you in its entirety. Furthermore, your husband, who held a genuine, if undemonstrative, affection for you, has left you a significant portion of his own property, including the grand house you now stand in and several income-generating farms in the countryside. Suddenly, you are not just legally independent. You are extremely wealthy. The feeling is dizzying. You can, for the first time, make a contract in your own name. You can buy and sell property. You can write your own will, leaving your fortune to whomever you choose. You hold the keys at your belt, and now they unlock doors that are truly, legally, your own. It is a level of autonomy that is almost unthinkable for women in any other ancient society. But this newfound freedom is a small, sunlit clearing in a vast, dark forest of social expectation and male-dominated power structures. Your independence is a legal fact, but it is also a social problem to be managed. And this is where you encounter the immense pressure of your new role. Society holds up a very specific ideal for a woman like you, the univira. This is a deeply respected and obscure term, meaning a one-man woman. The highest virtue a Roman widow can display is to remain completely faithful to the memory of her deceased husband, to never remarry, to devote the rest of her life to preserving his legacy and honoring his name. You will be praised for your piety, your loyalty, your singular devotion. Becoming a univira is the path to earning the highest possible moral reputation for a Roman woman. And yet, you immediately find yourself besieged by pressure from the opposite direction. You are a wealthy, independent woman with powerful political connections through your sons. This makes you an incredibly valuable prize on the marriage market. You are no longer a girl to be traded, but a powerful entity whose alliance is highly sought after. Your male relatives, your brothers, your uncles, your sons begin to visit you with increasing frequency. Their visits are cloaked in the language of concern for your welfare. You must be so lonely, they say. A great house like this is too much for a woman to manage on her own. But what they are truly concerned about is the large, independent fortune that you now control, a fortune that, in their eyes, ought to be reconnected to the network of male-controlled family alliances. They begin to suggest potential new husbands, a senator whose political support would be invaluable to your son's career, a wealthy landowner whose estates border your own, a marriage that would create a vast and powerful agricultural enterprise, a respected general who could offer your family protection in these uncertain political times. These are not romantic suggestions. They are strategic proposals. They want to see your wealth and your influence safely back under the management of a new husband who will serve the family's collective interests. This leads you to the central, complex debate that historians will have about the life of a wealthy Roman widow. Were you a truly liberated, powerful, and proto-modern woman, a master of your own destiny, able to operate with a freedom that other ancient women could only dream of? Or was your independence largely an illusion, a temporary and precarious state in which you were constantly navigating the pressures and schemes of the men around you, who saw your freedom not as a right, but as a problem to be solved, a dangerous anomaly in their patriarchal world? You live this debate every day. Opportunistic suitors begin to appear. Men who were never interested in you before, but who are now deeply interested in your inheritance. You must learn to be a shrewd judge of character, to distinguish between genuine proposals and predatory schemes. You must learn to say no, a word you have rarely been allowed to use. You must learn to manage your own finances, to negotiate with tenants and oversee your investments. Skills you were never formally taught, but must now master to survive. Your freedom is not a peaceful retirement. It is a full-time job. A high-wire act performed without a safety net. You stand alone one evening in the grand atrium of your house, the house that is now yours. A single lamp casts a flickering light on the marble bust of your late husband. You look at his familiar, stern face, and you contemplate the choice that now defines your existence. Do you pursue the path of the Univira? Do you embrace a life of quiet, chaste independence, earning the respect of society for your devotion, holding on to your autonomy and your wealth, but facing a future of potential loneliness and vulnerability? Or do you bow to the immense social and familial pressure to remarry? Do you trade your hard-won independence for the protection, companionship, and renewed political influence that a new husband could provide, once again subsuming your identity into his, becoming a wife all over again? This is the final, most complex, and most terrible challenge of your long life as an ancient woman. It is not a horror of physical violence or legal subjugation, but the quiet, immense burden of a choice that no part of your upbringing has prepared you for. Your life is finally your own, and you have never felt more powerful or more alone. And now, as you stand there in the silent Roman house, a woman contemplating her uncertain future, we can let the scene gently fade. The flickering lamplight softens, the marble bust recedes into shadow, and the heavy weight of that ancient choice dissolves into the quiet of the present moment. Your long journey through the many lives of an ancient woman is complete. You have been the Athenian girl, the Roman bride, the Egyptian mother, the Spartan champion, and the Roman widow. You have felt their limitations, their dangers, their sorrows, and their strange, resilient strength. But that journey is over now. You are released. You are no longer in their world. You are here, in your own space, in your own time, safe and secure. Let the echoes of the past fall silent and allow your mind to be still. There are no more choices to make, no more duties to perform. There is only the simple, peaceful reality of this moment and the gentle, welcome promise of a deep and restful sleep.